Hi, everyone. Welcome to our October. Is it October still? Yes, it is.
Very long.
This month is a very long month. So, and we still have next week. So, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Sasai, principal of Walker Junior High School.
And I'm Dr. Hill-Bonales, principal of Kennedy High School. So incredible to see all of you here in person and then watching at home or at work or on the drive. We appreciate you tuning in as well.
So as you know, it's Red Ribbon Week this week for Walker and
next week for Kennedy.
And then this Saturday, there is the Red Ribbon Week festivities at Central Park. It's something if your students went to elementary school in La Palma, they get very excited about signing in. There's a big trophy. Once they get to junior high and high school, they're not as excited, but there's an event. There's an event on Saturday. It's a traditional event. It starts at 8 a.m. It lasts till 10. So if you want to come out for pancakes and to see our students in the booth, we'll be out there this Saturday at Central Park, right down the street here from 8 to 10. So hopefully you can join us. So we have a very special guest speaker today. I am going to turn it over to Walker's Faces, Miss Lidia Puente. And let's not forget Mr. David Hernandez back there, who is interpreting for us today. So we will turn it over to Miss Lidia, who will share who our guest speaker is today. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Dave and I are really excited about Red Ribbon Week. We know it's a really important topic, which is why I'm wearing red. A really heavy sweater to think this through, but we're super excited you're here, and we have a special guest, Cassidy from Waymakers, who has prepared a special presentation for us today about drug and alcohol effects on our students. So we're going to hook her up so that she can help us do it, and we will start. So in the meantime, do you guys, I don't know if you are aware, but this is Filipino Heritage Month, right? So yay to all our Filipino parents in the house. So in honor of that, we're going to do what we did last year. Who can name their favorite Filipino dish? But not Christine. She would be very nice. Oh, pancit. Oh, I love it. Actually, I love everything, but anybody else?
Oh, we also have a special guest today. Our trustee, Mr. O'Neill, is here.
Good morning.
There is.
There was coffee and pastries.
Yes, please. Mr. O'Neill, did you want to say anything to our parents today, joining us in person and online?
Oh, great. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here to share the day. This is an exciting time of the year for many reasons, and I hope that everybody is reading everything that is out there so that you are well informed and you'll be able to make proper decisions, whatever those decisions are. So enjoy the morning and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. So one of the things that we do want to ask is if you guys have a chance to sign into both of the sign-in sheets. One of us is for us here at Walker and Kennedy, and the other sign-in sheet is for Waymakers because they too have to track their attendance. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, I would love this minute. And did that. So
What's up?
it was up, but
My notes, I thought I would. At home in order to keep your child safe from substances and empower them to be a positive influence on their peers. The drugs that we're going to be covering today are alcohol, cannabis/marijuana, vaping, prescription drugs, and fentanyl. So I want to start out by bringing up something called the California Healthy Kids Survey. We call it CHICS for short, and many schools throughout the county participate in this survey. It's administered every other year to students in 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th grade. And in the most recent data, that was from the years of 2021 to 2023, we pulled our 7th, 9th, and 11th grade data to show the amount of students that reported they had used either drugs or alcohol at some point in their lives. So as you can see, these percentages are a little higher than we would wish, right? We would love if these could be zero. So we wanted to point this out to begin to show that it is a problem that is occurring in our county, and that's part of the reason why it's so important that we do this prevention, especially early on in a child's life. So first, we're going to talk about alcohol. Our formatting's a bit off. So let's start by doing a true or false question. True or false, alcohol was the most used substance among Orange County youth between 2021 and 2023. What do we think?
True.
True. Okay. That would be correct. That is true. As you saw in the data, alcohol was incorporated in that survey and in that question that we presented. So many people don't consider alcohol to be a drug, but by definition, a drug is a chemical substance that changes the way your mind and your body work. Alcohol is a mind-altering and toxic drug, and as most of you know, it is illegal for anybody under the age of 21 to use. Overall, in the United States, alcohol is the most frequently used and misused substance. Youth tend to have the easiest access, or some of the easiest access to alcohol because it is in a lot of homes. It's present in stores, restaurants. It's talked about in movies, media, music, all of that. So it's just tends to be a lot more accessible than some of the other substances we'll be talking about today. And one thing to note is that underage drinking increases the risk of depression and anxiety disorders, particularly when it is used at a young age. So here we have some more data from that CHICS survey that I mentioned. And we can see that 3% of 7th graders, 9% of 5th graders, and 11% of 11th graders reported that they consumed one or more drinks of alcohol in the past 30 days when this survey was administered to them.
And I'd like to point out this rising trend. We see a small jump from 7th to 9th, and then quite a jump from 9th to 11th grade. And this really highlights the need for early prevention and support, both at school and home. So now we're going to be talking about cannabis and marijuana. So another question for you all, how can cannabis and marijuana be consumed? Smoking, eating, drinking, or all of the above? Yeah, all of the above is correct. Now, some common street names for cannabis or marijuana include weed, herb, Mary Jane, pot, dope, and hash. Knowing about these names can be beneficial because kids tend to use more slang terms as opposed to referring to something as cannabis or marijuana. And sometimes they might think that their parents won't catch on, so it is helpful to know there are more, but these tend to be the most commonly used. Now, I want to explain the difference between cannabis and marijuana. I know I've been mentioning both. So cannabis is directly referring to all products that come from the cannabis sativa plant. However, when I'm using the term marijuana, that's referring to the parts of that cannabis plant that contain a significant amount of tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC. THC is the component that produces the high. And marijuana in general can contain over 400 other chemicals. Some methods of use include smoked in joints, blunts, or bongs, vaping and using electronic vaping devices, as well as mixing or infusing it into food and drinks, which are referred to as edibles. Now, some data on marijuana use. So similar to the alcohol statistics, these are reporting usage within the past 30 days. So students, these are percentages of students who had used marijuana within 30 days of taking that survey. So you can see it's 1% of 7th graders, 3% of 9th graders, and then again, a really significant jump from 9th grade to 11th grade, where we have 7% of 11th graders using it. Now, cannabis/marijuana is harmful, particularly for youth, because it can result in significant health issues, specifically if it's smoked with lungs and breathing, because the marijuana smoke causes irritation to the lungs. And some of these breathing problems are comparable to the same problems that are caused by tobacco smoke. We're all familiar with how smoking cigarettes, vaping tobacco is harmful, but marijuana smoke can cause a lot of the same problems. People that smoke cannabis and marijuana can also develop a regular mucousy cough as a result of that smoke and that constant irritation. Marijuana use can also impact the heart and cardiovascular system. At the time of use, blood pressure increases. So contrary to that belief that marijuana can kind of calm you down, it does in fact increase your blood pressure, and that can also develop into a long-lasting side effect, placing the user at a higher risk for a heart attack. Some people that use cannabis or marijuana may also develop cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, in which the person can become extremely violently ill and face really long, regular stretches of nausea and vomiting, and that can persist for a period of time, a window of time, until that person stops regularly using marijuana. Now, as I mentioned, there's a common myth that in society we tend to believe marijuana relaxes us, lowers that heart rate, and as I mentioned, it increases the heart rate, and that heart rate increase can last for up to 3 hours after use. And so it's harmful to everybody, but that heart rate increase is particularly important to note for people that have heart problems or people that are older. Now, the biggest impact that we like to point out when we're discussing marijuana and youth is the impact that it has on the developing brain. So the human brain is developing until mid-20s, around age 25, And marijuana can significantly disrupt this development, in addition to disrupting regular brain functioning and decreasing brain activity overall. Now, marijuana use can have permanent effects on the developing brain when the use begins in adolescence, especially with regular or heavy use. When it's disrupting that development, it's hindering the brain from developing in a normal way or as it should at the same rate that it should. Marijuana use at a younger age can also increase the risk of addiction. On average, 1 in 6 people who start using the drug before the age of 25 develop an addiction to it. And teens who start using cannabis at an earlier age appear to have a greater susceptibility to the long-lasting consequences of marijuana use compared to those who have a later onset of use. Now, there are other adverse consequences and cognitive functioning. So another common myth about marijuana is that it can reduce anxiety. However, there are many new studies coming out that are finding links between marijuana use and mental health. Some of these early findings are showing that youth who use marijuana are, in fact, more likely to develop depression or anxiety. Now, when it comes to learning, obviously these impacts to brain development and brain functioning are going to become evident when it comes to students and their ability to learn in school. So in addition to disrupting that development, marijuana use impacts youth's ability to learn. It can cause permanent IQ loss of as much as 8 points when people start using it at a young age, and those IQ points do not come back once somebody stops using marijuana. So once they're gone, they are gone. It can also lead to youth quitting school or choosing not to pursue higher education. And it can lead to other consequences that will impact their ability to learn, such as difficulty remembering information, difficulty concentrating, and overall reduced coordination. Now we have a myth in our little box here. There are no long-term effects from marijuana use, but marijuana use, as I've covered in our past few slides, can cause a lasting cognitive decline. So now we will talk about vaping. Has anybody heard about vaping? Does anybody know what that is? Raise of hands, yeah? Okay, I think most of us are at this point in time familiar with it. Unfortunately, it has been on the up and up lately. So another true or false question for you all. All of the following are common names for vaping devices: e-cigs, e-hookahs, mods, vape pens, and tank systems. Do we think that's true or false? So that's true. All of those are common names for vaping devices. And again, it's beneficial to know some of the language that's used because kids might think they're being sneaky referring to something. So some information in general on vaping. Vaping is the action of inhaling and exhaling a vapor that is made from either a liquid or dry material when it is heated in an electronic device. So in general, they can be referred to as e-cigarettes, but most youth refer to them as vapes. Vapes can contain either nicotine or THC, along with other harmful chemicals, including ones that are known to cause cancer. Similar to our alcohol and marijuana data, however, this one is lifetime use of vaping marijuana. So we can see that of all the children surveyed, of all the youth surveyed, 1% of 7th graders, 3% of 9th graders, and 8% of 11th graders have vaped marijuana at some point in their lifetime. And similar to our other data, we're seeing this really big jump for substance use in general from 9th grade to 11th grade. And just to drill in my point that that's part of the reason it's so important to begin prevention at an early age. Now these are graphic. This graphic is an example of how e-cigarettes and vapes can look. Some are disposable, some are reusable, rechargeable, but in general, most on the market resemble these in some form. And again, they can contain either nicotine or marijuana. As of 2022, California prohibits retailers from selling flavored e-cigarettes. However, there are loopholes, but California is in the process of passing even stricter regulations on the sale of flavored tobacco products in general. So now I'm going to briefly discuss prescription drugs. So prescription drugs are ordered by a doctor. They're intended for a specific individual with that person's height, weight, symptoms, and other medical history in mind. Prescription drugs are not intended for use by anyone other than the person it is prescribed for. Now, although prescription drugs do have significant contributions and valid places in the medical field and medical treatment, they do still carry a risk of addiction or health problems when they are misused. There are 3 different categories of prescription drugs that are most abused, and those are opioids, depressants, and stimulants. Now, this statistic is a little bit different. Rather than usage, we chose to show the statistic that demonstrates the perceived ease of obtaining prescription drugs. So 9% of 7th graders, 14% of 9th graders, and 16% of 11th graders consider it very easy to obtain prescription drugs to get high or use for reasons other than why they are prescribed. Now, this is alarming because kids should not really be thinking of prescription drugs in this way. We want them to be thinking of them for their rightful use, for medical treatment, as opposed to using them to get high. We've provided a list of some commonly misused medications from each category. So under the opioids category, the most commonly misused include hydrocodone, oxycodone, morphine, codeine, and fentanyl. For depressant drugs that are commonly misused, some benzodiazepines, such as diazepam, tend to be misused, as well as barbiturates and sleep medications. And then stimulants that are commonly misused include amphetamines, such as Adderall, the drug named Ritalin, I don't know how to pronounce that one, and different diet aids.
The benzodiazepines, is that for is that a stimulant for keeping awake, or what is that for?
I don't know off the top of my head. Would one of my team members, do you mind looking up with that, what it's intended for? So opioids.
I think it's like a caffeine type stimulant, right?
Okay. It's in our depressants category for benzodiazepines, but we can get an answer for you on that shortly. Now, misuse of opioids can lead to mood and behavior changes, difficulty thinking clearly, breathing problems, and in the case of overdose, it can lead to a coma or death. Misuse of depressants can cause people to be sleepy, uncoordinated, or confused, and can lead to slurred speech and slowed breathing. And stimulant misuse can cause heart problems, seizures, panic attacks, paranoia, and violent behavior. We're going to expand on the fentanyl category a little bit because it's often brought up when we are discussing prescription drugs. So fentanyl is a very strong and highly addictive synthetic opioid, which means that it is not naturally occurring and it is manufactured. Fentanyl exists in 2 different forms, pharmaceutical and illicit. Pharmaceutical fentanyl refers to the prescription that is given to individuals with severe pain, such as cancer patients, whereas illicit or illegal fentanyl is produced illegally in unregulated labs and then sold on the streets. Illicit fentanyl is frequently found in other street drugs as criminals will mix it into them or lace them. And some of the street drugs that are frequently laced with fentanyl are illicit fake prescription pills. Fentanyl can be found in a powder, liquid, or pill form. And fentanyl, one of the reasons that it is so dangerous is because it cannot be identified just by looking, smelling, or tasting. So it's very difficult to detect without specific fentanyl test strips. Now, fentanyl carries a lot of really serious health risks, including overdose and loss of consciousness, and as well as low blood pressure. Fentanyl use can also result in respiratory failure, which can lead to brain damage due to a lack of oxygen to the brainstem. And fentanyl can lead to both addiction and death. Fentanyl was non-existent in overdose deaths in youth under the age of 18 years until 2019. That's when we started seeing some overdose deaths pop up among youth. And youth within the 10 to 17 year age group saw a rise in fentanyl-involved overdose deaths from 0 deaths in 2017, jumping up to 19 deaths in 2021. So again, really to just drive it home, until 2019, there was no overdose deaths related to fentanyl in youth. And in 2021, that number went from 0 up to 19 deaths. And in 2020, there was even one death one fentanyl overdose related death in the under 10 years old age group, which is really upsetting, but it's important to know that information, to know that it is out there and that you can be at risk for this. So before we move on, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. Obviously, you're all here because you want the youth in your lives to thrive and to succeed. And in the next few slides, we're just going to discuss some different strategies that we can take to help prevent youth substance use. I'm assuming since most of you are here, you're already an active role in your child's life, and you're probably already taking actions at home in order to keep your children safe. But these are some suggestions that you could add in to whatever it is you might already be doing at home. So the biggest advice that we can give is just to talk to your child, talk to the youth that you interact with about the risks of alcohol and other drug use. A big part of support is communication, so it's important to try to use everyday opportunities to start these conversations about alcohol and drug use. By checking in regularly and creating a safe space, whether that's in the car driving home from school or sitting at the dinner table, it can help build your child's trust and confidence. We want to remember, or we want to remind your child that you're there for their support, for their guidance, and it's important that they make healthy and safe choices. Now, another recommendation we have is to establish family rules and consequences. By having that structure both around substance use and just that structure in general, it can help the youth to see that there are rules about alcohol and other drugs, and there are fair consequences for breaking those rules. It's important to be very clear and consistent with the rules, and check to see that the people your child hangs out with are safe and they share the same values similar to your family. Another recommendation we have is to reduce youth access. So we want to be aware of any alcohol, cannabis, or marijuana, or prescription drugs in the home, and just know where it is and try to reduce your child's access to it. You can do that by taking inventory. If there's missing or quickly used substances and medication, maybe you just bought something and suddenly it's gone, noticing things like that. And locking up and taking that inventory can really go a long way, because if they don't have access, it's not gonna be as much in their mind as if they know it's sitting there at home unlocked. Now, although you may have an understanding in your home about the use of alcohol and drugs, you may not know the intentions of others. So maybe there's other youth that frequently visit your home. They could be taking notice of that, even if your own child isn't. So by removing those items, that's limiting opportunities for them to get access and establishing a clear boundary for those types of products by indicating it's not safe or not allowed to be used. We do have a handout for you all to take home that just goes over and summarizes some of these recommendations that we have. And again, we know most of you are very active in your child's life, especially if you are here So maybe you already do all of these things. If you do, that's great, but hopefully it can prompt you to think of some other ways that you can take action. My colleagues are distributing those handouts now. And the last thing that we have to wrap up today, we have a very brief survey that we would like all of you to take. It helps us know if we are doing our job correctly. They are anonymous. We just pull the data from them for our own purposes. We have the surveys available in English, Spanish, and Korean. So can anybody who needs an English survey, please raise their hand. Oh, we have 10.
Leave me alone. Thank you.
They do present with them. We wanted to show you some real life vapes so you can see. You will see, there is a aroma that emits from them, so don't smell too closely, please.
I'll go wash my hands after I touch them, so if you ever find anything like this in your home, it is recommended that you do wash your hands when you're done. So we'll show you some. Some of the ones that we want to show you are those ones that were mentioned are actually illegal in California, which are those flavored vapes. And you'll see this is a very popular brand for our students. They're called Elf Bar. You might see them. This one is strawberry kiwi. Sounds like a delicious smoothie, but it is not a smoothie. So this is a
some of them
popular
do look
brand.
like they're charging a flash drive.
Flash drive. I'll show you some that look like a flash drive.
So these are very
You
popular,
can see
though,
these are
this
very
style.
popular. Summer peach, delightful. Okay. This is one that sort of looks like a flash drive. So if you are looking in your students' school supplies, you might assume that this is a flash drive to plug in and download documents, but this is a vape. There's some that are really fancy. This is another brand that students like a lot. It's Cake brand. This one's nicely bedazzled.
They took the time to bedazzle it.
These ones are actually rechargeable. So there is a USB port in the bottom and they can
Like you would charge your
recharge
phone.
them. And they have cartridges inside that you replace. So this is not a one-time use. These are one-time use. Some of them are one-time use. What's a one-time use? When they're done, they're emptied, they can't be refilled. This is one that costs a student a little bit more money to purchase. And they have a refillable cartridge inside, so the students refill those. What's another one? Another one looks like this. You'll see some different brands look like that. Could almost look like a lipstick or a
And
makeup.
sometimes they keep them in their like pouches, like pencil pouches. So it'll just be in the pencil pouch with them.
Pencil pouches. There's also some backpacks that are very popular right now. There are those backpacks that they're kind of leather style and they have like a mouth on them on the back. And those backpacks have a little hidden secret pouch built inside of them. You probably don't know where they are. We're just discovering where this little hidden pouch is. So it's a little inner section where you can hide things, where if you're just looking at the backpack and doing a backpack search, you might not find it. So just sort of be mindful that these things are out there. We wanted to show them to you so you could see them and have some awareness. Like knowledge is power, right? So this great information from our Waymakers team, our partners in this, and then being able to see them as well.
Yes. So you could take a look at these if you would like
Yeah,
to.
I recommend not touching them.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go wash my
Yeah, she's gonna go up to
hands.
the office and wash her
Yeah.
hands. So just look with your eyes. You don't want to touch
Don't
because
let
some of them are
them-
marijuana.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, a lot of them are marijuana.
And again, like we said, you never know what does have any fentanyl inside of it. So it is recommended that when you're
And,
touching them, you're not then touching your eyes and mouth.
What was I gonna, oh, there was a question
I
online.
have a question email from out.
Yeah.
It says, I wanted to ask principals if there is Narcan in the school.
Yes. We have it in 2 locations. So one is in our health office and the other is in another location. In our case, it is located in the main office. So we do have Narcan on our campus, on every campus.
Yes. What is that?
It's for if they have a fentanyl overdose, you put it in the nose, it's a spray. So,
And if anybody is ever interested in attending a Narcan training and receiving it, the Orange County Healthcare Agency does them free of charge
Yes.
in various locations throughout the county. All the information is available online.
and a lot of those trainings, don't they give
Yeah.
the Narcan
Yes,
too?
they do.
Yeah,
So
you
you
receive
go
the
home
Narcan and it's
with the
completely
Narcan.
Yeah.
You keep it in your car.
There's
Does
also
that-
a website that you can log on to
with
and
the
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
spray, so it
Spray.
looks, it's small, it's a spray, it has the directions directly on
Yeah.
there and it tells you, spray one nostril, you wait and then
and you can get Narcan at any pharmacy.
Rite
So
Aid,
CVS,
they're just,
Rite
like,
Aid,
right there.
Walmart pharmacy, you can get it.
but if you go to these trainings for free.
You can get it for free.
They're like $45 if you buy that. I've seen it already.
They do come in a pack of 2, because it is recommended that once you're able to, bring back that student, they might then kind of slip back into that more passive state and you have to do another session. And then by that time, hopefully your emergency personnel is with you.
Already there.
And
And
able to support.
What's good about our tiny 1.7 mile city of La Palma, when we do call, they come immediately because they are right here. So if we have an emergency, they are here literally in an instant. We call, boom, they're here. So it is nice that our fire department and our police department,
And they
literally
have
get
it on them as well.
yeah, so
they
every police
have-
vehicle has it, every emergency vehicle, but we do have it on our campus as well. It's scary, I know, it's a scary thing, and I know you're wondering, why do we have so many? So these are what we've collected. So
And this is
baby,
just Walker. Kennedy's got its own box.
but also, it does not matter, social economics, it does not matter. if what school you're at, unfortunately, it's everywhere. It doesn't matter where they're at. It's so popular, unfortunately. So yes, this is the collection from Walker. However, it smells, so I don't want to hold that anymore. But it happens regardless where you live.
Is the Narcan only for fentanyl or for other drugs as well?
It's for
Opioids, yes.
So does the child become unconscious? I don't know
So it's more so if somebody was found unconscious and we know that they've taken a pill of some sort or consumed an illegal drug, a street drug, then to be on the precaution, we would administer Narcan. It doesn't have any adverse effects, so if the person is taking opioid, it's not going to cause additional harm, but it does halt the pathways in the brain and remove those receptors. So it's always best to administer. Yeah. And the biggest risk of fentanyl tends to come from, as I mentioned in the presentation, illicit pills. So when I went to UCI, people would talk about taking Adderall if they had a big test coming up, something like that. So if somebody's seeking out, like, oh, I have a final coming up, I'm gonna take an Adderall, that's kind of where is it really coming from? Is it
You don't know
Adderall?
You don't know what
Right.
it is. You don't know if they're mixing it right
Or if
with
it's
anything.
a real prescription, and even if it is a real prescription, it was given to somebody
Somebody
else, so, yeah.
Do we have any announcements too?
Yes, if you have
Okay.
announcements. So, we have, places as parents, we have the Parent Leadership Academy coming up. Our first launch is on November the 1st. If you're interested, it is a 4-part series, but the great thing about this,
Oh, first and then.
and then the 7th.
So it's every week
So
then?
it's every week for 4 weeks. The first one is long because we're gonna have a whole bunch of them, we're gonna have lunch, we're gonna have breakfast together. And it's a way to build community through the entire district. So it's gonna be district-wide so that we can learn from all the other schools and they can learn from us, so that we can help each other out. And all the great stuff that's happening at different schools could be happening at all schools at the same time. Now, I did get another question. They're not sure if how do you report it, or if you see something, how do you report it?
So we do have the Stop It app, so, okay, I was like, where's the poster? So we have the Stop It app, students can report anonymously, anything on campus, from cyberbullying to vaping, to any concern they have. They can also email the administration, they can come talk to us, but the Stop It app is completely anonymous,
And it's unique to the school, so that's Walker's Code and Login, Kennedy has one. The
Every
beauty
school
of
does.
the Stop It app is, in addition to it being anonymous, it's a little bit more immediate than an email. So it comes to us through our cell phone right away, and it alerts us,
We get a text message,
We get a
regardless
text
what
message.
time of night,
regardless of what time of night.
day or night.
And depending upon the level of concern, it sometimes even skips us and sends information straight to the police department.
So the police will actually get it first if it's like life
If it's something
threatening
that
or.
is highly concerning, they'll notify us after.
So there's a variety of ways that they can notify us.
But how do you get that app?
Oh, you just download it in the Play Store or the Apple Store.
Oh, you don't have a QR? Oh, okay.
It's all on there.
It's all in there, but you just download it.
And then you put in the code, it's #1898 Walker.
Every school has its own code, and it links you to that school, because then the administrators of that school will receive the text message as soon as it goes in. So if like, I heard a story of, a student was in, the restroom, and he saw that other students were doing things they weren't supposed to do, and they texted right then and there to the administration, and the administration was able to get there and catch it in action. So a lot of times, by the time you get there, it's gone. So the Stop It app is the best way. And also, this was the Red Ribbon Challenge that Dr. Sasai was talking about earlier for our kids here in Macoma. It's at Central Park. It's a lot of fun.
It's a free pancake breakfast.
It's a free pancake breakfast. Kids have a great time, especially the little ones. So we can encourage you
Bring
to
the little
go.
ones out.
It's family fun. It's free.
It looks like free.
Yeah.
Yes, Gina.
Knowing that those have the smell. If I were going through my child's backpack and I found something and I wasn't sure, is it a flash drive? Is it not a flash drive? Would it smell, or do some of them?
Typically they do smell.
Typically
They smell. They'll either smell fruity, like, ooh, what's that like fruity candy smell?
Like flash drives don't have.
No, they'll smell like plastic, if anything. And then some will smell like marijuana. So like you get that whiff of like, woo, that is a lot. So it's either gonna be very fruity, where you're like, what is that puff of perfume? And if you have a boy, they have this real fruity smell coming from their room. If they weren't using perfume. Any other announcements from David or Lydia? Okay, well, thank you again for coming to our October Coffee with the Principals. We're so happy that you're here. We'll stay for a little bit. If you'd like to look up the box, you're welcome to look up the box. And have a wonderful day. Thank you again for coming in person and online. Bye, everyone online. Thank you. Thank you. So if you want to look at the box.
Some copies for you.
Is there a prize?
The prize is still free.
The prize is
You're supporting your
okay.
family.
Okay, good.
So,
You can have a vape. Just kidding. On TV.
Go right here.
Yeah, you want to look at
거기는 뭐냐면 봉사 관련해서 이거를 세미나를 그 날짜가